What's up, sports world? Welcome to the D&D Sports Show. I'm Daniel,
And I'm David.
and we are here just, two gentlemen who decided that who doesn't like talking about sports. So we are just going to talk about major sports, take some questions, just do the daily banter. Who doesn't like just talking sports?
Exactly. So I think on today we're gonna start with Major League Baseball. Big night last night. Wild card for the AL kicked off. Um, quite the night to say the least. No
You're telling
surprise.
me, how many games did you catch?
I was able to catch the Yankees game last night.
Of course,
And
the
boy,
blowout.
yeah, it was the blowout. 12-3. Boy, Garrett Cole looked like Garrett Cole, and now I know why they paid him all that money.
Dude, that was supposed to be such a good pitching matchup, and it just didn't go Bieber's way. Starting from the first inning, dude, letting that two-run shot to Giancarlo, after that, it just went downhill.
I mean that lineup in New York is just it's something else. It's not going to be easy for any team in the playoffs, uh, especially going against what many are dubbing the AL Cy Young uh, front runner at the current moment. So we'll see how the rest of the series goes. I think we got Carlos Carrasco on the mound and Tanaka, I believe.
We do. That is tonight at
But that's tonight. Not tonight. That's tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow. Should be an interesting matchup. I'm taking the Yankees. I think they'll sweep. What about you?
Uh, I don't like I'm not a Yankees fan, so I'm gonna go with Cleveland.
All right,
Cleveland in three. They're gonna p-
respectable.
they're gonna
Stay
figure
loyal.
this out.
Staying loyal. Staying loyal. I
I know
appreciate that about
if
you.
people don't know this, but I'm a huge Tampa Rays fan. So anybody in the East, they ain't coming for that title.
All
We're
right, all
going.
right.
I
Fair
got
enough.
Tampa. Tampa looked good last night. They had a couple wild pitches and a little shaky defense, but they pulled the W out. Toronto's not looking great at all. They kind of stumbled into the postseason. I feel like this is Tampa series to lose.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. I definitely when I looked at the playoff field, when I looked at the AL side, it was definitely I I there was just it was really hard for me to pick Toronto over Tampa. That was probably the one matchup where I was like, I think this team is just outmatched all facets of the game. It's just going to be a tough road for them. Honestly, I picked the Tampa Bay to be the one that pushes the Yankees to the brim of all the teams in the AL. I think.
I agree with that statement. I believe the Yankees did take the head-to-heads over the course of the season, but this season was such a this season for all sports. I'm just going to throw this as a blanket statement. All sports seasons this year are just super weird, getting back to normal with everything going on in the world, and it's just I think the most adversity came for sports this year, trying to get back to what everyone loved doing, people were getting paid to do, and to see sports just back in full, it is a good sight. But I just think so. Let me ask you a question real quick.
Okay.
Sports titles. Do you asterisk them this year?
I am I'm trying to remember who said it, but I know that there was this player, I believe in the NBA, that said that this is actually the opposite because this is just the adversity that teams have had to go through is just it's more than regular season. I mean, just look at like the NFL, even with like the no preseason. I mean, there's people who like Justin Herbert got thrown into a starting job, without any preseason work. I mean, that was probably his, it wouldn't be his first time with, the first team, but I mean, he gets thrown in. You got Tyler Hero, who's a rookie, balling out in his first season that was shortened due to COVID. Like some of these players, you just like if Tyler Hero played a full season, he might have been better. He might have the league might have caught up to him. Like it's just, I don't think you can put an asterisk by it by any means.
But I get that. But could an asterisk mean maybe a positive thing, or do you just essentially kind of take asterisk with not such good value?
Well, I think that you could put an asterisk by it. I definitely could see it, but like I said, the asterisk would have to just signify a shortened season, or like you know maybe for the NFL, like okay, well this season there's no preseason, so there's gonna be the good teams getting a late start. Like I honestly think, like people call me crazy. The last few weeks I say the Saints are still gonna be a playoff team. Man, the last couple games they have not looked like a playoff team, but I still think they have a chance to make the wild card. But yeah, no, I definitely think the asterisk, I mean, you can put an asterisk, but it definitely needs to be a positive, not a negative.
Okay, I can I can agree with that. It's just people are gonna take it both ways. You're never gonna have a fully decided factor of that. People are gonna see it how they want to see it. But
Exactly right. Exactly right.
all right, back to baseball. Got a little off topic there, but I figured
Exactly.
it was an important thing to address due to current climate conditions and everything going on.
Due to the disease that shall not be named.
Right. We don't speak this. We don't speak this. All right, so we cover Cleveland, New
Yankees
York,
and mm-hmm.
Tampa. Well, you got
Tampa.
Tampa going.
I believe. I don't think that there's any way that the Blue Jays. I just think that the Rays will get it done on Wednesday, or not Wednesday, on Friday.
They play today.
Yeah,
Tampa
so Friday.
plays today and Friday. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, no, the other game or the other two games were Houston and the Twins, which I'm not gonna lie, the Twins kind of fell apart there in the ninth inning. I don't know if you got to catch any of that game.
I caught the highlights of it. I didn't get to catch the game yesterday.
Sergio Ramo, just proving that once
Bro,
again
he's been blowing leads for 5-6 years now.
Yeah, ever since he was on the Giants, he's just it's been a rough one for him. But
Cardinals.
yeah, no, I mean it wasn't the most, it wasn't the prettiest game for the Astros, but it just proves again that experience in the playoffs does play a factor. Because, like I said, the Minnesota Twins, I mean, you got a few names on there that have probably seen the postseason. I mean, Nelson Cruz has, but he's playing DH, so there's only so much that he can do.
He just sits on the bench waiting for others.
Exactly, and but no, I definitely, I don't know. What's your take on that?
I mean, ever since 2017 and the whole Astro situation, it's just they've had a tainted legacy for good measures. Obviously, you can't cheat and get
Yeah,
away
of
with
course,
it.
for good reason, absolutely.
That team is just on paper they are a good team. Like if you look at the averages from the season, they're not great, but they're relatively high compared to other teams. And obviously they made the playoffs, so they did something right.
Yeah, exactly. And there's always like you were talking about with the whole the shortened season. I mean, sitting there at 29 and 31, the fact that in a normal season, or like not necessarily normal season, but if it wasn't the extended playoff, you're looking at
Under 500.
you're looking at the Brewers and the Houston Astros, like sitting there with their records. They'd be on the cusp of they. I don't even know if they'd be in.
I don't think they will. I think at the end of the day, they would not make it in. But
again, I think, like I said, experience is going to take the cake here. I do think Astros move on. Do we know the pitching matchup for Game 2?
Yes, I just actually saw it. It is Berrios versus Iroquois.
Urquidy,
sorry.
Yeah.
Urquidy versus Berrios.
So, I mean, it's definitely. I don't want to say anything too, but I think it's going to be Houston. I think they're going to sweep as well. I think experience takes the cake.
I think I'm gonna go against you this time, and I'm gonna say the Twins will figure this out too.
As a sports fan, I hope they do.
I do too. I really don't want to see Houston.
I'm with you on that one.
Now let's switch over to National League. Now, before we start these games, I want to talk about the toughest division in baseball. Apparently,
are we just gonna disrespect the White Sox and the Athletics?
We did
We're,
miss them.
no, we're just
Oh well,
gonna disrespect them.
my
The
apologies to
guys.
the south. My apologies to the south side of Chicago and good old California up there, Oakland. My
Yeah.
apologies.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I'm North Sider here, so hey.
Yeah, you and
I
your
mean,
Cubs.
it's all right. Speaking of that, Southsiders, we're looking. They're a tough team this year. You know, kind of an unexpected team, I would say. I mean, I know there wasn't a lot of people who were anticipating them to, do as well as they were.
Unexpected is probably the best word to describe their season. Because when you take a trip up to Chicago, and I have been to Chicago a few times, nobody talks about the White Sox.
Mm-hmm.
You only hear about the White Sox if you go to the stadium. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're on the south side. You hear about hell. You hear more about the Bulls than you do the White Sox, and they haven't been relevant since the '90s.
I agreed. Yeah, no. Well, you can't disrespect my boy Derrick Rose, but
Well, it depends. Is he healthy or hurt? I never really could figure out which one was
MVP Rose we're talking
MVP
about.
Rose.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. They were irrelevant then. They just lost to LeBron. But so
Good.
yeah. But no, I mean this year definitely could be the year the White Sox make a little bit of a run. They haven't really been relevant since what Paul Konerko. When they won their
2005.
yeah. I mean, it has been it has always been like that. It's I mean, being a Cubs fan, there's always the running joke that what do White Sox fans and Cubs fans have in common? They both like talking about the Cubs because they just shit talk us the whole time. So and because they can't talk about themselves. But this year, I mean, I'll tell you what, I mean, it's as good as year any for maybe seeing the old rematch. Cubs White Sox in the World Series. It's not gonna happen, but hey,
It could. It very well
as
could.
a Chicago fan, I can fucking hope.
So game 2, we got at 2 o'clock today. We got Dallas Keuchel versus Chris Bassett on the mound. Who you got?
Man, I really I like my boy Dallas, but I do think that this one's gonna go. I don't think it's gonna be his day.
I think Oakland's going to make this a series. It's only a 3-game series, obviously, but I think they are going to put the screws to Chicago and make them earn it.
Yes, I agree. I think Bassett, he's been pretty consistent, and I mean they're playing what they're in Oakland, correct?
They are in Oakland.
I mean he's got literally a sub 1 ERA at home. I'm taking
Well,
the home team.
to build on your on the one, Chris Bassett is 3-0 in the month of September with a .34 ERA and 25 strikeouts in 26 and 2/3 inning. Fun
Yeah,
fact.
I'll take Bassett in this one. I think he's gonna make it happen for the A's.
Now, who do you think? Who do you think is the X factor for this series? Either team.
Well, I think a player who single-handedly can win this series for either team. I just think it's the AL MVP, one of the AL MVP candidates, in Jose Abreu. I mean, the man is just having a season. He's looking like he's definitely returning to the form of what we thought he was going to be for years. I mean, been a decent hitter, but he's just kind of putting it all together this year.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you on that one. I do think. Well, I say Edwin Encarnacion.
Okay.
I think with a young team like this and looking at this roster, it is a very young team. I think Edwin Encarnacion has the ability to pull this team together just due to his playoff experience, and he is still hitting like a madman.
It's crazy. It's one of those cases where he just doesn't seem like he's going to be slowing down. So hopefully he keeps it up. I've appreciated him. In his that run that bomb he hit in Toronto. I'll never forget that one.
Oh, that series was interesting.
Crazy series that one was.
That was when they had to stop the game with the trash on the field and everyone was getting way too rowdy.
Yeah, it was a rough one. But I think that's the perfect way to segue to the NL side of things. Now that we've given the South side some love, we got the first game of today is Reds Braves. I believe.
Currently 0-0 top three.
Yep, and it is what we have: Trevor Bauer and let's see who the Braves have on the
Julio
mound.
Teheran.
Max Fried
That's surprising to me, actually.
or Fried. I don't know. I apologize to Max.
If Max hears this, we made it big.
But
We can call and explain to him.
we can yeah, exactly. But anyway, we can use this to vault back into the discussion of the best division in baseball.
And apparently, the best team in baseball is the Reds. If you talk to Trevor Bauer, if you follow him on social media.
Yes, very much so. But yes, no, I don't want to say self-proclaimed, but proclaimed by loyal fans of teams in the division. They are calling the NL Central the best division due to the fact 4 teams made it. However, I would like to state, with the whole extended playoff, I mean, the Reds are the Reds the let's see, they're the 7th seed, so they wouldn't make it, and neither would the Brewers. So again, obviously consistently we've had 2 playoff teams for at least 2015 we had 3.
There's always 2 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I probably would go back 2008-9 before I said there were not 2 NL Centrals.
Well, yeah, even when let's see, I mean, it used to be, Brewers kind of got hot lately, but it used to be just, you'd have the Cubs, the Cardinals, and the Pirates would be fighting for the 2 spots, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, they are very good. They just always play each other competitively. Like that's why they always beat each other. Like, some divisions they just run away with it. Like you have the powerhouses who just literally sweep their divisions, all the division series. But like I mean, I've been to plenty of Cubs Cardinals games. I've been to a Cubs Pirates game. I've been to Cardinals Pirates. I've been to all, like, I've just watched them play, and they genuinely hate each other, and
the intensity
they come to play. Like every time they play each other, I mean anybody can win. Like I've seen the Cubs win with a they bring up a guy from the farm system and they beat the Cardinals, but then I've seen John Lester got on the mound and get 5 homers hit off of him. Yeah, it's like it doesn't matter, and they could be in the same lineup the Cardinals can throw out there. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I'm looking at the standings currently, and it's actually surprising to see. The Reds finished 31-29. They have better records currently than Houston and the Brewers. So I think they probably still would have made the playoffs. I think it was just because you get 2 teams essentially that finish each division anyway. That's why they are the lower seed as compared to a Houston team who was 29-31 making the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my personal opinion.
I agree with that.
But I'm going to take the Braves in this one. I just think that team is young, and last year they put the screws to St. Louis in the playoffs.
I definitely I think I got to agree with you on that one with the Braves. I just don't see it, for the Reds. I mean, granted, I glad to see them making the playoff for first time in for a while. I don't know the exact time, but I just think the Braves, they got some studs in their lineup, and if they get hot, they're going to be a dangerous team to go against.
I will say the only way the Reds win this is if Trevor Bauer and Sonny Gray both pitch perfect games, essentially.
I agree with that. I definitely think that if if you can get 7 and 8 innings of shutout ball from those two, I mean, you got a chance. I mean, you
'Cause
definitely have a legitimate chance. But I just if they have short starts for, and honestly, that's the way for either side. I mean, you got to have pitching to go deep. It's just how it is this playoffs with
I was gonna
the
say
shortened season.
that's just playoff baseball this year. Due to the extended postseason and everything, you're gonna have to either have really good bullpens, which only a couple teams have shown that they can actually do short starts, or you're going to have to trust your starters to make it 6, 7 after a short season. You don't get as many starts, you don't get the reps.
Well, yeah, exactly, and that's what I mean. The experienced teams come through. I mean, yet like I hate to bring up the game we already talked about, but Houston. I mean, Greinke pitched like five innings, and the bullpen came in and held them scoreless. So I mean, the good teams, I hate to say it, have a bullpen that can bail them out because you can't. I mean, you can trust your starters only for so long.
Right, and if they don't have their stuff, they don't have their stuff. There's no reason. And if you notice it early, so let's take the Reds Braves examples.
Exactly.
If Trevor Bauer doesn't have stuff on his slider, there's no reason to keep him. You give him the
Then
3, 4.
don't extend him over what he's
Right.
comfortable with. I mean, if he starts walking people, or if he just they start timing his fastball, it's just something that has to happen. You gotta unfortunately as a manager just think about the bigger picture here, and like that's tough to do, especially in a 3-game series. If it was the regular season, you can just leave that guy in there, let him try to deal out of it. But it's playoffs. I mean, you lose game one, you're in a hole.
Right,
You're playing with your back against the wall.
in a 3-game series, is a little different than a 5-game, and that's kind of something I want to touch on next. So 3-game series, you essentially got to win 2 in a row. As to where a 5-game, it's not as if you lose game 2, okay, maybe it depends on how you felt your team played. You win game 1, you're sitting pretty. Okay, game 2, series gets tied 1-1. You have flexibility to lose maybe a game. I know nobody wants to look at it that way, but that is, strategically placing it. There is room for error in a 5-game series, as to where in a 3-game series, there is no room for error.
And
2 games, you're done.
yeah, you're
That's it.
exactly right. I mean, there's the room for error is almost non-existent. Like example, yesterday is a perfect example. I keep bringing up the same game, but that Houston Minnesota game. I mean, 2 outs and an error that extended the inning, and they capitalized with 3 runs on it, and that's the difference between going to extra innings and giving your offense a chance to win the game, and you're blowing it in the like it's just one of those things. Like, that wouldn't be a big deal in the regular season, but like it's just you're in the spotlight now. It's playoffs.
Right, everyone's watching. And this is going to be what, if they lose the series, that will be remembered most from this, the
Exactly.
takeaway from the series.
Exactly. And it'll be like, or even if this thing goes 3, like just think about it. Like they could, if they win this next one, they're just gonna look back at that play and be like, well, it should be over. It could potentially have been, they could have been a sweep in the opposite direction. But I agree with you. Let's see. The second game of the day, Cubs Marlins.
Mm,
Series near and dear to my heart.
well,
The
I know
the
who you're taking. I know who you're taking.
the rematch the rematch, that I remember exactly where I was when the infamous play happened. We're not going to talk about that though, because I can talk about that for hours. But no, I mean, I'm gonna put on my sports fan hat right now. All right, I'll set the Cubs fan off to the side. I think that this is a dangerous Miami team, and I think that they are going to have the potential to be a playoff team for the next 2 to 3 years. I think that their bubble's going to last longer than that? No. Do I think they're going to make deep runs into the playoffs? Probably not with their current roster. But I do think that they're young. They have a lot of talent that could develop, and get better. But I do think that the Cubs starting pitching, if Kyle can go 7 innings, 6, 7 innings tonight, I'm a Cubs fan. Trust me, I've seen our bullpen. I don't want to hand them the ball until at least the 8th inning. So if Kyle, you, and John can just dial it in and give us 7 innings every start, or even 6, I think the Cubs got the series.
And you touched on it that this Marlins team is a dangerous team if left unchecked. Um, Looking over their lineup, they have some scary power. And some from people you might not expect. Obviously, Jesus Aguilar, he was a Brewer great home run hitter. Don't get me wrong, but Starling Marte can hit the ball well. Corey Dickerson has shown he has a little power from a leadoff spot, which only happens every few teams. I mean, Etro could hit for power a little bit, And then Brian Anderson is the very, very interesting pick, and I think he is the player to watch for this team.
Agreed. I definitely agree with that. And I will say the one statistic for today's game that kind of stuck out to me, and it definitely is that there is five batters in the Miami lineup have either never seen Kyle Hendricks or never got a hit off of him. And let's see, is Corey Dickerson? Yes, he has leading the team with a 250 average against Kyle Hendricks. So I think the first couple innings Miami's going to get off to a slow start, but they see Kyle 1-2 times. I think by the third time they're going to start hitting him. That's just how Kyle pitches. I've been able to watch him pitch many games. But yeah, no, I think this will be an entertaining series. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. I mean, Sandy Alcantara, there's nothing. He's a good pitcher in his own right. So I think it'll be an interesting series.
Okay, so I'm gonna, as much as my inner side doesn't want to do this, I'm gonna take the Cubs this series.
Yeah, I definitely will agree with you on this one. I think it might. I mean, there's a chance it'll go 3. I'm gonna take the Cubs in 2, just because I believe. Let's see, I don't want to tell you the wrong thing, but I'm pretty sure that the projected starter for Game 2 is you, and I mean, you is in the conversation for NL Cy Young. I think he'll win it. No, I think DeGrom will probably repeat, even though he's on a really bad Mets team. It's just it's unfortunate that he's wasting the golden years of his career with the Mets.
Yeah, they were so.
They were how they fell. Like it's one of those
overhyped.
Like, it's one of those what ifs. Like it's like what if that whole rotation would have stayed together for for less money. Like would they have done damage? You got Matt Harmey, Syndergaard, DeGrom. Like if they would have stayed together and been healthy, no injuries. I mean, I don't know. It's been hard to pick against the Mets the following season if injuries wouldn't have plagued them.
Right. So, all right, we're gonna cover the last games, and then I want to talk about the Cy Young.
All right.
I want to come back to that because that award is going to come down to the wire for both sides of the league.
Definitely agree with that. The next game we have, let's see, that is, is that, let's see.
That would be the good old-fashioned Cardinals and Padres. That's a scary matchup. From being a Cardinals fan, it is scary to think about this matchup.
It is a series that I know the outcome, or I believe I feel strongly about the outcome. I do believe that the Cardinals will win the series, and I'll give you 3 words for why I believe that. And it's no Mike Clevinger, because Clevenger I don't think he's going to be ready to pitch in any of these games. I don't think I'm pretty sure they ruled him out for the wild card series, and he is definitely was their best chance, pitching wise. That without him, I mean, they still have, but their number 2 is already out for the playoffs. So I don't see the Padres winning just based on pitching.
Well, if we just base this on pitching, I don't understand what either team is doing for their 3-game run.
I agree.
Game 1 is Kim versus Paddock. Paddock is posting a 4.73 ERA in his last 12 starts.
Don't sleep on KK though.
No, KK's I like what he does. I like his movement and I like how he handles himself. As a lefty, lefty versus lefty is always a good matchup, but the way he pitches around right-handed power hitters is amazing. He never feeds them too much to hit. And his movement, it'll start out chest high and that thing moves and it catches them off guard. But I was more intrigued that we don't have Mr. Flaherty starting game 1. But I guess when does the
Flaherty is slated for game 3. And I
did they
believe
switch it again?
I believe the reason why they did that is just I think it's matchup sake. I think this gives them a chance if they sweep. Jack Flaherty's rested up, ready to go for the game 1 of the next series. And if not, he's there to, send the team to the next series in an elimination game. That's just my opinion. I mean, I understand the whole pitching your ace last.
I think this game's going 3. This series, I mean, Waino's been on fire this whole season. He just looks so good for his age, and his curveball has not taken off at all. It is good to see as a Cardinals fan. But this Padres team is just way too scary.
I completely agree with that. And I mean, it's always hard to, when it comes down to the baseball, it's hard to choose, offense or pitching. And I'm just going to give the edge to the pitchers in this one. I do think that the lack of starting pitching for the Padres is going to catch them. I mean, you got a lot of new faces, on St. Louis this season, at least when it comes to like their batting leaders. You got Paul Goldschmidt, he's always consistent, but just you got some names that, I mean, you might have heard of them, but me, a fan of, not necessarily of the team. I mean, there's some new guys, Brad Miller,
Dude, he looked good this year.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, like just going down the list of, obviously I know Dexter Fowler, shout out to 2016 Fowler. You got Tyler O'Neill back in the lineup, you got Bader. I mean, this is definitely I mean, it's still a talented Cardinals team. Like I said,
Dylan Carlson he's in a little slump currently, but he came out on fire.
I mean, this team is definitely one that gets hot. There's always a team that can make a run. I mean,
I was gonna say,
I'm definitely saying optimistic.
And I think if any team has the hardest teams to go through, it will be, I think, St. Louis.
I agree, because even if they win, I mean,
we're gonna get to this, but
we'll get to that in just a second.
Segue into it.
Yeah,
NLDS will be no easy task for whichever team comes out of this series, and that is because as we move on to our next game, the Brewers versus the Dodgers, which, in my opinion, this isn't going to take much time because I don't have much faith in the Brewers.
I mean, tonight's game, you got the young upcomer Walker Buehler versus versus old Suter. Like I said, there's just not a whole lot that I can say about this game without just I mean, you got a sub 500 team going up against what arguably is the best team roster wise. Roster wise is the best team in the playoffs in my opinion. I mean, I just don't see it happening.
So
I would love for this to happen. I mean, I love good, good baseball. It's just what's your opinion on this?
my opinion is this first game is going to be interesting because it is a bullpen game for the Brewers.
Yeah, that is true. If I just
I don't see it. I don't see it working well against the Dodgers. I mean, this lineup from top to bottom is talented, and that's an understatement for that word. I mean, it doesn't matter which lineup they throw at you. You have you think you're gonna make it through the top five? You still got to worry about 6, 7, 8, 9. They're just their eighth hitter
Yeah.
is technically a second cleanup. Like
I agree. Yeah, no, it's definitely gonna be a tough road, and I don't mean to interrupt you here, but I just have some, a little bit of an update. So we talked about it earlier. The Twins trying to bounce back against the Astros. Well, we have uh officially Byron Buxton, the center fielder, has been ruled out. He's not 100% during warmups. He could be available off the bench, but according to manager Rocco Baldelli, he says that he would not elaborate anymore on the condition. He said he has mild concussion symptoms. Thoughts on that?
ooh, that's that's an unfortunate loss because he has that speed out in center field to help cover the gaps, and without that, I don't.
Let's see. We got Max Kepler will be moving to center field, and the rookie Alex Kirilloff is making his MLB debut in right.
An MLB debut in the playoffs. That's something you don't hear every day.
Yeah, it's a crazy, crazy year.
But you know what? Let's go. I hope the kid does great in his debut because what better way to set your career off than coming in, starting a playoff game, and just wrecking?
light up the Astros.
Yeah, you like.
Agree.
All right, come on, sir. Light up those Astros for us. Prove us wrong. Prove us wrong. Well, prove me right and David wrong. I'd be okay with that.
Exactly. Anyway, so moving on. That's the schedule for today. But tomorrow, we do have Thursday football.
We do, and
We have
it's gonna be an interest.
But on paper, this matchup is it's a stinker. But you know what? It's sports, so
It's football. I was gonna say it's football.
We got to talk about it. So, I guess we'll start. Jets, and
We got
Broncos.
2-0-3 teams. Well, I mean, let's start with that.
Okay. All right.
Whoever wins this game gets their first win of the season. What's to look forward to?
All right. So I will elaborate on that a little bit. So I mean, the Jets definitely didn't have a cakewalk of a start to the season. Obviously with the Bills in Buffalo, you have the 49ers came to home. I mean, yeah, they had an injured team, but that's still 49ers are coming off of the Super Bowl. Like, it's still not easy. And then playing the number one defense. I mean, I like I said, this team is bad. I think Pat McAfee said it best on his show yesterday. I mean, this is probably one of the worst teams I've ever watched a game. And I watched them play the Colts, and it was a stinker. Like, he's like, I think somebody posted, I don't remember who it was, but they wanted to see this team play the Detroit Lions led by Dan Orlovsky of, I think, 2006.
Okay.
And they said that game would be a stinker of a game, but they want to see who would win that game. I just think even with I don't even know how to say the quarterback's name. Brett, man, I don't want to butcher it, but Ripien, I don't know. Sorry to Brett, but no, I think Brett's gonna have a field day. I just think this Jets team is just
You
terrible. I really think the Broncos get their first win. Uh, it's hard for me to not pick them, even with the third string quarterback.
And to be fair, the Jets didn't look terrible against Buffalo. Yeah, it took them what 3 quarters to figure it out, but when they figured it out, their team did click. I mean, Jamison Crowder had 100 yards that game. Sam Darnold actually threw well,
I agree, and
but
yeah,
then game two rolled around, and it was like you flipped a switch, and they looked like crap.
I agree, and I definitely I look at it as the Broncos. Their 0-3 is it's one of those 0-3s that literally could have been 2-1. I mean, to the fact that you literally, I mean, Goskowski had arguably one of the worst days opening weekends as a kicker ever, and he just happens to make the one that counts at the end of the game. You got, if he misses that, you win 14-13, you're 1-0. Steelers 26-21, one score game. Again, flip, a tackle here, interception there. It's a whole different ball game. Obviously, you're playing the Bucks. They're starting to click. We'll talk about them, on Sunday's show. But I
That
just
one
think,
did get out. That one did. They let that one slip.
and
I
I
will say
agree.
that.
I agree, but they're also playing without Drew Lock, so like this is just let's just see who is more resilient. I mean, they're both 0 and
I
3.
mean, if we want to talk about how bad this game is supposed to be, they're averaging. The Broncos are averaging 15 points a game, and the Jets are averaging 12. They're allowing 30 points per game, and they both have under 330 yards per game. That
Yeah,
is
I will say
atrocious.
the one thing that the Jets have going for them is I believe I don't remember who reported it first, but basically, from what I understood, is the ownership of the Jets basically told Adam Gase if he loses, he's out. And they've talked to an agent about
Shopping.
finding shopping for other head coaches. So that's definitely going to be something interesting. See if the team comes fired out, ready to play. On paper, offensively, the Jets should be able to score on Denver, but they just haven't figured it out yet. And I'm going with the Broncos. Let's see. It's going to be a kind of a stinker of a game. I'll go 2014.
Mm, That's giving them the benefit of some points there. I'm gonna take Denver, but I'm gonna say it's gonna be 14-10. I'm gonna say
14-10.
this game is just gonna be boring to watch. And I
Very.
don't I don't think the only person I'm looking forward to watching is Noah Fant because he is an
He's and
explosive and athletic tight end,
that
and he
brings
needs
us
to give me some points this week
that
because I
that
need him to show up.
that's the next segue into our fantasy player to watch in this game.
Well,
And I think it's up and down these rosters. There's not going to be a whole lot of players in this matchup who are on many of the teams per se, but I think you kind of hit it home. I think you have like two options on fantasy wise, in my opinion. You have the tight ends. You got Noah Font, um, but also somebody that some people could have would be Melvin Gordon. I mean, obviously with him sharing the load with Philip Lindsay, it's kind of a hit or miss. At least that's my two players to watch on Denver side. Do you have any Jets that maybe if they're available,
the
could
only
fly
I
there?
mean, Braxton Berrios is under the radar. Obviously, with Jameson Crowder hurt, Rashard Perriman not playing nearly at all because injuries, and he just doesn't look good when he's on the field.
Agreed.
I would say my three people to look for: Noah Fant, obviously, number one, throughout both teams. Yeah, Barrios would be number 2 because he's the only current receiver for the Jets that is at all doing anything for this year. And number 3 is somebody that is probably owned, and I don't have a number off the top of my head, but I'd say less than 10% of leagues, Jeff Driscoll. And what a story this is becoming for him. And he surprisingly looks good for being somebody
Well,
who was thrown into the position.
I agree with you. But I don't know if you heard or not, but Driscoll's out.
Is he out? I did not see
Yeah.
that.
No, did you earlier I mentioned a
Oh, the
man by the
Ripien.
name of Brett Ripien is making the start. I'm not exactly sure the whole story about why he is, but the what first year man out of Boise State is going to get a look. And I mean, what better way to, get your reps out there? I mean, this is definitely I honestly think Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay can carry them to a victory. I don't see that not being the case. I think this is just to see if they have a option at backup for Drew Lock, because I do still think that Drew Lock is the guy. Obviously being from Missouri, we're a little biased,
Let's
but
go, Mizzou.
exactly. But I think that he has the ability. They just have to build around him. I mean, he's getting flushed, and they just got to build around him. I think.
So I'm curious about something now. I'm looking at the depth chart because I just wanted to take a look. And why is Blake Bortles not starting?
So, from what I could understand, I believe he was brought in as kind of a like I don't know, it'd be a mentor role. I
So just
think
a teaching
I
role.
think yeah, well, I think with Drew Lock being out, I think they were just kind of bringing somebody in to compete and just to try to kind of put the other quarterbacks under his wing. I mean, obviously Jeff Driscoll has the same amount of experience, or well, roughly, being the same age. But Blake Bortles, people forget and people, like to dog on him. But I mean, the man, yeah, he was carried by his defense, but still, he literally played in an AFC championship game. Like, I mean, that was the year that they scored I think they scored 13 points on the Bills, and they still won because Tyrod Taylor is a bum.
I mean, and just throwing the stat out there, Blake Bortles has 17,649 passing yards. That's nothing to sleep on either, with 103 touchdowns. Like
I mean,
that's
no, you're absolutely right, and I mean, it's just kind of like
it's just kind of weird. It's just an interesting situation to see them go with Ripon over Bortles in this instance.
I do believe that with the fact that he was just signed last week. I mean, could it be a controversy in the future between the four-headed monster that is Denver quarterbacks? I don't know, but this man is a former the third overall pick. I mean, this dude can play. I agree with you. I think that at the current state, I mean, granted, I haven't seen Brett take a snap, but I mean,
He's 1 for 2,
you
so
gotta.
he's not terrible.
I mean, you got to go with the boat. The best of all time, the boat.
Oh, here we go. And then you have the bum of all time, Tyrod Taylor. But I mean, I didn't say that out loud.
Hey, I'm a Buffalo fan. That man broke a curse. All right,
Yeah,
I can smack talk him. You don't see me talking bad about all the. I don't know.
all the
I don't
way.
really. I don't
We don't
really.
have football in St. Louis anymore. Don't forget that.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why I'm not a Rams fan. Let's just say that. That's why I jumped ship.
We might in a couple of years. We might have a football team.
But a very, something that I look forward to every weekend, and I'm sure you do as well, is the craziness of college football this year. I mean, talk about a crazy week this past week. I mean,
Let's just say it's not for the faint heart.
arguably the biggest hangover, so far of the short season,
That LSU
That
team.
that LSU team did not look
LS
like the
who?
same LS. Yeah, LS who exactly. I mean, a couple of notable scores that's from the past week that stick out.
I just want to say Mizzou put up 19 points on Alabama. That is 19 more points than I thought they were going to score.
I I mean, you're absolutely right. I agree that if there would be a year for somebody to take down Bama, and
This is it.
this is it, because I like Mac Jones. I do. But I really think obviously Najee Harris is going to carry them probably to the playoff, but I really think if you can somehow, pack, whether you stack the box against Bama, I think if you stack the box, stop Harris, I don't think Mac Jones can beat you. Normally they have a quarterback who can beat you. I mean, they've had Tua, they've had Jalen, they've had, in the past they've had like AJ McCarron, Greg McElroy. They've had all these quarterbacks who can beat you. But I think this year Mac Jones does not scare me. Like if I was
I
going up against him, he doesn't scare me alone. Like if he has a running game, of course, play action pass. It's like any team. If you can establish a run game, you're gonna win games.
and I agree because like you just touched on, Alabama has had quarterbacks who can beat you down with the run and then they can beat you with the long ball. They've had quarterbacks who can throw 70, 80 yards and not miss a beat on a pass with the wideout. Mac Jones doesn't have that ability. I don't see him throwing deep balls consistently. His long Saturday was 46 yards, and that was a catch that was 20 yards down that Mizzou missed a tackle on. So, and his average attempts are 10 yards right now. I don't see him consistently being able to beat you outside, so he's gonna have to keep the ball inside on slant routes, go routes, just short options. If you cut those off, any good secondary defense is going to tear this kid apart.
I completely agree with that, and I do think that is definitely going to be. This is going to be a year for Bama, and it's 1 week. We've seen 1 week of Mac Jones, plenty of room for improvement. I do think that there is flaws in his game though. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops over the season. Um, Looking over the rest of the board, big upset in the top three would be Oklahoma going down, just proving again the Big 12 can't play defense.
Every game's a
It
shootout.
it's crazy. I've been talking. There's people who are posting about it and stuff on social media and everything, and I always comment and just they always like to bring up the whole Baker. They got Baker, they had Jalen, they had Kyler. Well, the thing about it is if you guys would have had a defense, I did the average statistics. They've made four playoff games, and they've averaged giving up 49.5 points in those four appearances. 49.5 points. And that's weighted down by a blowout by Clemson, or not Clemson, LSU last year, who put up 63 on them. Obviously, that's a little bit, but like the Big 12, they got to figure out defensively. I mean, if you looked all the way down the board, I mean, you have Texas sitting there at 8. They give up 56 points.
That's what I wanted to. That's the game I wanted to talk about next. Was if we were going to continue the no defense trend.
Absolutely. And I watched that game, and I'm going to be honest. For those of you who are, obviously this is the first podcast. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a huge Texas Longhorn fan. Been a Texas Longhorn fan almost my whole life, since the Vince Young years. Been through all of it, through the heartbreak of, Crabtree ripping that ball out of our safety's hands. Fucking. I mean, I've seen Colt McCoy's whole career, and man, I turned this game off whenever. I'm not gonna lie, when Thomas broke, when Sardaric Thomas, when he broke that run, I turned it off when they were down 14. 6 minutes ago or 5 minutes ago, I turned that game off. I was like, it's stick a fork in them. They're done. It was funny. I threw the remote down, turned it off, like laid down. I was like, all right, I can't watch this.
You should have. But Texas Tech doesn't know how to close games out. They've been blowing leads for years now, but this just shows that you gotta have a defense in college football.
I
You were
and I,
up going in. You were up 7 with 3 minutes left. You guys acted like you won the game, and then you blew it.
again, like this is kind of a trend that we didn't really touch on, um, but I just don't understand. Like I see, so this is kind of near and dear to my heart. So as some of you may know, I coached high school football for a year last year while I was working and stuff before I shipped out. But it's crazy that like I was in charge of setting up special teams, and every week at practice we go over regular kickoff and hands team, and we kick like 4 balls to the hands team every week, repping it because you never know when they're going to pull it out. You never know where we're going to have our hands team ready to go. But like just like the Falcons game, for example. I mean, it's like they've never even ran a hands team before. Like they just watch the ball go. Then you have the guy who tips the ball up. Like I was taught from a freshman in high school. Heck, even before that, like bat the ball out of bounds. If you're gonna hit that
You
thing
hit it
10,
out,
10
yeah.
you hit it 10 yards out of bounds. Like, oh, I watching that Tech guy jump up and just tip the ball up and like right into the arms. It's just hard to watch. Like I'm a Texas fan, so obviously I was excited to see it, but it was just
It's such an interesting way to. And I'm a Cowboys fan in NFL, and I watched the onside kick against the Falcons, and I'm like, what did what did I just witness? Like, Atlanta looked like they saw a ghost and just watched it happen.
well, and yeah, and like I said, this can go both ways as well. Like I've seen I believe it was I don't remember. I think it was last year. I believe the Bills were playing, and the team kicked an onside kick, and Micah Hyde jumped up, caught the ball, and ran it in for a touchdown, untouched,
Mhm.
because they didn't realize that was a live kick, and like they were waiting for it to go 10 yards. And Micah Hyde said, "All right, if you're just gonna leave a lane right down the middle, I'm gonna
I'm
take it
just
to the
gonna take.
house."
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just special teams are so important. Like wrapping it back into college football. In that Texas game, there was a muffed punt for a touchdown. There was a blocked punt for a touchdown. I mean, there was. I mean, about the only thing consistent on either of the teams is the field goal kicking. Even I mean, I believe Texas Tech's kicker missed one. I mean, it could have been the difference maker, but I mean, the only consistent player on either side right now is, I feel like, Texas kicker, because
Well, actually, Texas went 7 for 7 for extra points, 2 for 2 field goals, and then Texas Tech missed the only field goal and went 8 of 8 for extra points.
exactly. I'm telling you, like, special teams are so important. It's crazy to me that they just don't harp
Well,
on it more. I mean, I know
okay.
that it's college. You'd like to put up a lot of points. You don't want to worry about kicking, but I mean, just think about it. Like in the professionals, like Goskowski went 6 for 6. If he doesn't go 6 for 6 on field goals this past
They lose
weekend,
that.
they lose the game. Like it's so important. Why doesn't they preach it at a younger age?
So here's an interesting stat from this game. How many how many yards do you think Texas Tech had on kick returns?
On kick returns,
Yeah,
I don't know. There's a couple returns, I think. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you.
0.
Oh, so that's what I'm saying. Uh,
They had no kick returns for yards.
the
And
the the nickname for Texas's kicker is, his name's Cameron Dicker. And they call him Dicker the kicker because he's been the only consistent part about Texas's team. Um, the past few years. I mean, the defense has been shoddy, in big games. As you tell, like last year against LSU. I mean, obviously LSU ends up winning the championship, but they got torched by LSU last year. So, I have high hopes for the team this year. I really think that they can compete. Definitely looking forward to watching the Red River rivalry game coming up because I think it'll be a good game. Obviously, no defense should be a shoot. It should be a shootout like it always is. But it's 12:40 p.m. and OU sucks.
But I mean, let's college football is mainly shootouts. Let's just be honest. The only time you get really good defensive games is late playoff SEC games. That is when
Big Ten football. Big Ten against
is
Big
it?
Ten. Big
Oh,
Ten
that's
against Big Ten.
that's
It has some defensive slugfest. They don't have the high-powered offenses necessarily that they have had in the past. With Ohio State, I don't see them. I mean, it's hard to say, but
and it's good to have it. It will be good to have Big Ten football back.
exactly. Keeping on with the games. You have Florida at Ole Miss. Florida is one of those teams where, I mean, you hate to, my brother's a big fan of them, but I mean, Kyle Trask, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions,
416 passing yards.
I mean, looking at it, it's pretty impressive. I mean, they had 196 rushing yards. I mean, they could do anything they really wanted. Like that game was closer, closer than it should have been. I mean, 14 points against the second teamers in the fourth quarter. I mean, Florida looks like a pretty good team, that could be competing in the SEC. They say that year in, year out, though. It's about how they play at the end of the season, really, not so much the start.
But can I give a big kudos to Elijah Moore though, putting up 227 receiving yards in a losing effort?
And that's the thing. That is one of the things that the next level people look at. I know that there's a guy that the Bills drafted in Gabriel Davis. I don't know. You guys probably heard his name called a little bit on this past Sunday, but he played for UCF. And the man if you look at all of his games, he would go off in the games and they could have lost the game by, 21 points, but the man just still out here working. And obviously, some of that's garbage time, just throwing up, trying to score points at the end of the game. But I mean, I think it really shows character in, younger athletes that they keep trying, I mean, it sucks to, lose, but I mean, might as well pad your stats, am I right?
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, it does look good, but when they go back and look at the tape, and NFL teams will go back and look at these types of games,
yeah,
and how you handled yourself, it becomes a big difference in who gets taken to the next level.
Of course, the big thing on that whole regard is the 0 touchdowns. Obviously something that I mean, I know Elijah Moore isn't like a red zone threat necessarily. From what I'm seeing, I mean, he's a 5'9", 185-pound. So I mean, that's a slot receiver right there. So I mean, obviously he's not going to get the red zone targets, but obviously, he's definitely a player that I hey, he might be something. Coming down the road. I mean, he could be the wide receiver to watch.
Reminds me of a Julio Jones type game.
Playing for the Falcons of
playing for the
2013 Falcons or like 2014 Falcons. What like his first 2 years where he padded stats.
I'd say more like 2016, 2017 when he had the consistent 100-yard games, but he didn't have the touchdowns because they couldn't finish the drives.
Agreed. Yeah, no, exactly. And like, I can understand that. A lot of that had to do with just the play calling, I think. But
wrong plays at the wrong time type.
Exactly. And there's definitely quite a few players this weekend that definitely jumped out. One of the guys I would like to ask your opinion on is the quarterback for Auburn, Bo Nix. What's your take on him? I mean, I did catch a little bit of the game this weekend. I can't say that I watched, the whole game. Like I said, I was kind of flipping through the games, but Um, I mean, going out against a good Kentucky team. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I mean, he did it on in the through the air. Obviously, he the a little over 50% passing. Obviously, is something he definitely needs to improve on. But I mean, he's proven in the past that he can win games. So I mean, what do you think? Is this Auburn team for real?
And this week, I think Kentucky's good, yes, but they're not the premier of that SEC division. And I think his big task is Georgia this week. I think this
Agree.
game will determine whether or not the Tigers are for real. Because I mean, let's looking at a stat line: 16 for 27, like you said, 59% completions. That's not going to win SEC titles, right? That is not going to. I
Exactly.
mean, the 233 yards, it's not bad. For college, it's a little low because you see all these shootouts. But NFL, a lot of NFL quarterbacks are only putting up 250, 275. Yeah, you have your outliers like Russell Wilson, Dak, and stuff like that. But a 233, three touchdown stat line for a game is not a bad start. Um, in his career in 2019, if you look at the 2,000 yards, but he also had a 57% completion rating. That is going to have to change if he wants to put Auburn in contention for a national championship.
And yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think this upcoming week with them going to Georgia, I think if you can find a way to come out of Athens with a victory, I do think that they can ride that. I mean, you got Arkansas at home, you got South Carolina in South Carolina, and then Ole Miss at Ole Miss before they get the matchup against LSU. And I really think that if they can make it out of Athens with a win, I think there's a good chance that we're going to see a 5-0 Auburn team taking on a 4-1 LSU team, and that's going to be a really good game. I think.
And if you go at your tickets are $1,700. Good luck.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Um, Looking ahead at this weekend's games, I mean,
What's your game to watch? Let's just do no Texas TCU because everybody knows about that. But what is your game to watch this weekend?
I, people are gonna call me crazy for saying that this is the game that I want to watch, but I really want to see how Clemson does against Virginia. And people say on paper that Virginia should get killed by Clemson, but I just want to see. It wasn't the best showing this past weekend with obviously it's kind of hard to you know I'm trying to think how to say this. It's kind of hard to judge, off of 1 week. But I mean, they have a 97% chance to win. So this should literally be a blowout. Like it shouldn't even be close. And they
But you
played the
never know in
Citadel.
college football.
This is what I'm saying. They've played Wake Forest and Citadel. I mean, they're coming off a 49-0 win. Great, you beat the Citadel. Nothing crazy. It's Virginia. I've seen Virginia play teams close. I really think that Clemson needs to be clicking because they have what I don't want to say the dark horse, but I'm gonna say the dark horse sitting there at week 6 in Miami. The team they look like a good team.
Okay.
That's my game to watch. And it might be a blowout. It might be, but I just need to see them play. And Virginia's like obviously they haven't really played anybody. We don't know what kind of team Virginia's going to be, but I really think it's going to be a good game. I don't think that it's going to be as much of a blowout as they think. That's my opinion.
Okay. And obviously you have the Georgia Auburn game, which is a game to watch. But what about this Alabama A&M matchup? I
So
I
no, go ahead.
do think A&M, yeah, they only beat Vandy by 5 points,
Mm-hmm.
but they looked well. Like they were clicking, they figured it out together. I want to see if they can put the screws to Alabama and make them earn this win.
All
So,
right, and I will tell you that defensively, they looked like a team that could potentially limit they could limit the offensive attack of Najee Harris. I do believe that they can stuff the run. But they got to figure out this offense at A&M. They got to find an identity. They got to find an identity. I mean, you're looking at 183 total rushing yards week 1, and only 1 touchdown to show for it. You have 189 passing yards. I mean, yeah, it's a balanced attack, great, but I mean, college, that's a low stat line, and honestly, in almost both regards. I mean, that's 3 people who combined for 183 yards.
And I also will say that, once again, going through college football, this is all a learning curve for us. We've never seen, the easy first 2 games of a normal, not easy, but
the warm-ups.
The warm-up games. We haven't seen them. These teams are getting thrown into conference play immediately, and teams are just starting to click now. And I think having this game under their belt, I really do believe that we might see a different Aggies team on offense this week. If they think they can figure it out, then I think this game will be tight all the way down to the 4th quarter.
I completely agree with you on that one. I definitely think that if the defense can play like they played last week, I do think that they definitely have just as good of a chance as any. I mean, I think it depends on what Alabama team shows up as well.
Yeah, and it depends on if we get the down your throat Bama defense back up and running. But I just don't think that offense is as good as they've been in years.
I agree, and I definitely agree. Like we touched on earlier, and we're not going to beat the dead horse, but I don't think that Mac Jones can carry this Alabama team. If Najee Harris doesn't run for 100 yards and at least a touchdown or 2, I don't think that this Alabama team is very beatable. And I've never really thought an Alabama team in the past has been very beatable. Obviously, I've seen Alabama, prove me wrong before in the past and, find ways to win all these games. But I just think that this is the year that if you're going to be an SEC team and you want a shot at the playoff, this is the year. I mean, take a shot for it.
Right, and this isn't a scary Alabama team. I agree. We've seen scary Bama teams.
I can tell you from experience, like, I mean, and that's the thing, like Najee Harris. Listen, every good Bama team has a running back. The thing is that you could stop the running back, and then you'd have a quarterback right behind him who could throw or make a play and do it. You've always had that wide receiver threat that's just like absolutely insane. You've had people like you've had the Judys. I mean, obviously you got to go back a little bit. You got Julio Jones. You've had they've always had kind of a receiver like that could take the burden off of the running game. So it's definitely gonna be interesting to see. But I'd like to hear your opinion. What is your college football lock of the week?
Ooh, my lock of the week.
I would say stick to the top 25. I want to hear you I want to see. I mean, if you want to go,
we're gonna go top 25. I'm gonna go Florida.
Florida. I do think this Florida team. I think they're for real. Sorry, South Carolina. I have a friend from South Carolina. I just don't see it happening. But no, I think my lock of the week. I really like an underdog story. And I'm probably gonna get flamed in the comments for this.
I'm waiting for this. This will be good.
I am going with the SMU Mustangs over the Memphis.
Looking at this game, Tigers.
I love me some SMU. I think that I think the former Texas quarterback and Buechele is gonna show up, and I think he's gonna lead that team to victory. That's my lock of the week.
That's a bold move, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off.
Exactly.
Now,
Speaking
hold on.
of,
I do want to touch on
okay,
one thing.
all right.
Do we classify if Auburn wins as an upset? Because technically it is.
Uh,
But I don't see that being, in my opinion, I don't see that as an upset.
so in my opinion, when it comes to upsets, I think if they're both teams are within the same like bracket, so like if you have like two top 25 teams who are like both 20 tiers or both in like the tens, and it's not like a 1 versus like a 25. I don't think ranked opponents really it's an upset. Especially this early in
Okay,
the season.
that's
Maybe
fair.
late in the season, you got a like number 25 who's like records like 5-3 going into
Versus a
8-0
number,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be an upset, but I think it's too early to really call anything an upset because we don't know what teams are gonna, what they are, what their identities are.
Okay.
But leading into the next segment, big night tonight at 8 p.m. We have arguably, I wouldn't say the I wouldn't say the I'd say the most intriguing matchup we probably could have had in the NBA Finals with LeBron going up against the Heat. I mean, Heat, where did they come from? I mean,
They shocked the world. They they took this by storm. And I mean, even their regular season record, 44-29. And you compare that to a 52-19 Lakers. That's insane to me. And this Heat team, if you look at their squad, you're like, how? Who carried them here? And it was a basically a group effort.
I mean, yeah, exactly. If you look at this, if you just look, even if you just like go to game 6 stats, I mean, you look at it and I mean, just across the board, you have 32 points from Bam Adebayo, 22 points from Butler. You have 9 points from Jamison Crowder, 13 from Dragic. Robinson got you 15. You got Hero getting you 19 off the bench. Iguodala 15 points. I mean, when you have literally 6 scorers in double digits, it's going to be. I mean, you're going to put up points. I mean, 125 points. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like how far do you think that this Heat team can take this LA team? Because arguably LA, I mean, it's going to be they're the favorite, and I mean, I think every sports expert's picking them. But I want to hear, you're a Miami fan, you're trying to, you're getting interviewed here, and I tell you why Miami.
I mean, if you love a good David and Goliath story, here it is. I mean, everyone's writing Miami off already. So why not put it all out there to prove everybody that you are for real? I think this is going to test Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero and Bam because they're going to have to put 110% every minute of every game to keep this close. And I'm gonna I don't think Miami pulls this off, but I'm thinking at least 6 games.
And yeah, no, I agree. I don't think it's definitely not going to be a sweep. It's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be necessarily even a 5-game series. I do think this goes 6 games. I do believe that if Miami's going to win, I do believe that they might steal game 1. Um, and that's just from history. It takes a little bit for LeBron to get going. Obviously, I know that they've been kind of rolling. They just came off that Nuggets series, but I do think the keys to beating the Lakers is you have to stop AD or LeBron. If they both put up 25 plus points, you're not going to win the game. Like it's not going to happen. You got to stop one, or even if LeBron only has like 20 points, high 10, like 18. I mean, if you can stop one of the two-headed monster, you're going to be in good shape because then you're going to make Kuzma shoot. You're going to make KCP shoot. You're going to make Rondo make plays. Danny playoff Danny Green is going to start shooting the ball. It's like, I mean,
Right,
if
and
you could,
we have seen what old playoff Rondo looks like from Boston times, and if we see that Rondo this series, it LA's gonna make short work of this because if if you have playoff LeBron, you have mad playoff LeBron from Miami. We haven't really seen an AD in a finals form, so
it,
this we're gonna see it for the first time, and then you have Rondo, Dwight Howard. Eh, he's he's there, is what I'll say.
exactly.
But you have this rotating six man for LA that reminds me of back in the day the old Spurs Manu six man rotation. Like, but also that could all be said for Miami. Tyler Hero should be a six man in the conversation for the six man award for the year.
And
No,
I completely agree. He's kind of he's one of those players that just kind of, everybody had written off. I know that I was watching. I'm trying to remember what it was, but I was watching a video, and a couple of YouTubers like did a fantasy draft that they could draft the players before the season,
okay.
and I believe the number 3 pick was Tyler Hero, and everybody laughed at him and said that he was crazy because he was all the way down. He's like projected like in the 20s, and honestly, steal of the draft. Looking at it, I mean, the two guys that the Heat got in Nunn and Hero, turned out to be the two of the arguably the best rookies when it comes to contributing to the team aspect. Obviously, it's looking like Ja, with the meaningful. But no, I mean, I think the keys, like I said, the key to beating this LA team is you're gonna have to stop one of them. You know, defensively, it's an interesting matchup because I don't know who covers who for the Heat. I really don't, because you have Bam, but who's Bam got? Because if you put Bam on AD, I mean, who you gonna put on? Who you gonna put on Dwight / Javal? Or do you put Jay? Do you put Jay on LeBron, or who do you put on LeBron? Because like it just defensively, Miami, I don't think has a matchup. I mean, do you play Duncan Robinson on Anthony Davis? I just don't know what you do.
No, you're gonna have to. This is gonna sound really weird. Iguodala is gonna have to play defense.
So what do? You start him, or do you just strictly play him on? Do you play him on LeBron?
You play Iguodala when you're playing a man-to-man defense, and when you switch back to a zone defense, you take him out. I think that's how because you're gonna have to. You can't run a man-to-man against LA all game. You're gonna have to switch into. I would almost say a 1-2-2 defense or even a 2-3 defense, which isn't really unheard of, but
It's not unheard of. No, it's just something that if you watch NBA games, I mean, most of the time, they're in man just because it's just how the league is nowadays. But I don't know. I like we both agreed on. I think it's Lakers in 6. I just don't think there's any way. I mean, David versus Goliath here. I would love to see the Heat win. I really do think that this would just be I mean, it would definitely knock down LeBron a tier if he can't win this. I mean, if he comes out and wins this, I don't think it really boosts his. I mean, yeah, okay, another title, but I really think I don't think it boosts him that much in the discussion of GOAT. I'm a little.
so if he wins this, he'll have 4-6. I don't.
Lakers in 6. We're just gonna leave it at that.
We're gonna leave it at Lakers in 6 because
Lakers in 6.
This legacy. The only thing I will say is if LeBron does pull this off, this will definitely be dedicated to Kobe.
Oh,
And I think, and I 100% think that this is the most important finals for Lakers fans.
Oh, and I completely agree. I think, it's literally a Cinderella written story. Like, obviously, they're expected to win. It's not like the Cinderella story where it's they're not expected to win, but I think it's poetry in motion, really.
If LeBron doesn't win this, he's going to be hated in LA for a couple months.
And he's going to be hated in LA, and the team MJ is just going to rip into him even more. I think no matter what, I think LeBron gets criticized, even if he wins, because he had to have AD come and join him. He couldn't do it with last year's team. He couldn't even make the playoffs with last year's team. Granted, injuries, the injury bug hurt him, but I think.
And I mean, that's not all on him. That also had to do. The coaching was
the dumpster fire of a roster.
Yeah, the dumpster fire, the coaching. I just and it's not like they went out of their way to get AD. It was kind of like one of those. If you want to play with LeBron, come to LA.
And yeah, that's the kind of their pitch to all the free agents and everything. So, with that being said, who do you think is the X factor player of this series? I mean, obviously you have the stars in LeBron, Anthony Davis, Butler. You got Goran Dragic. Who do you think is the kind of like maybe flies under people's radar, but is going to be the key to either winning it for the Lakers or upsetting the Lakers for the Heat?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna do one for each team because I think that's fair.
No, that is a good call.
I'm gonna say the X factor for the Lakers is going to be Rajon Rondo.
Okay.
Just because when he gets in there and he gets in and he starts looking consistently good and healthy, he is a menace with that ball. His ability to pass, to find the open man, is just unbelievable when he's at 100%. And I think we have seen glimpses of that this postseason already.
Yeah, I completely agree on that side. That was actually going to be my pick for the Lakers. I think if Rondo's out there, if he's dishing the ball off as well as shooting, and if he puts up anywhere from like 15 to 20, I would love to see that. Maybe with like 10 plus assists. I think that puts the Lakers in the best chance to win. What about for the Heat?
I agree with that. I'm going to fly a little under, everyone's going to say Tyler Hero, and I can understand that. But I'm going to say Bam. I think if Bam plays phenomenal defense, I think that could be the key to shutting down him switching on and off AD and LeBron. If he shuts down AD and LeBron starts to get hot, I think you switch Bam to LeBron and see what happens. You're going to have to play he's going to have to play back and forth on each player.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I'm gonna go a little bit of a different route with my pick. For my X factor, I really think that well, at least from what I saw in the last series, I think he's gonna be Jay Crowder. I think if he can shoot and if his three ball is falling, I think he just adds another dynamic weapon. That now you got to step out and guard him, and it leaves the inside open for a Hero to drive, and he can drive and kick out to Jay. And if he's making it rain, I mean it's gonna be that's where the Heat make their money is driving
Outside.
and kickouts, driving kick out, and it's also gonna open up the lane for Butler to drive, and it's just I think he's definitely my X factor for this series.
And Jay Crowder is averaging 15 points for the Lakers, so that is definitely 15 points needed too.
Yeah, and I believe he's 33% from the field, I believe, or from the 3-point line.
33.3% from 3-point, 52% from the field total. Which, if you're above 48%, I would say that's clean game right there.
I agree.
Then again, you could still shoot 30% and still have 50 points, but. That's neither here nor there. So, all right. So we both got Lakers in 6.
I agree. Yeah, and I really do think it's going to be a good series to watch. I think it's going to be entertaining basketball. I applied to be a virtual fan in the Heat's game when they're the home team. So maybe you'll see me on the big board in the finals. We'll see.
I'll definitely be watching. And I know we don't touch much on hockey season because it's officially over now. But did you catch any playoffs? Did you catch any hockey playoffs?
Oh, yeah, no, I watched the finals. As you know, it's kind of a kind of weird, being being a Blues fan coming off of last season and just watching the team get eliminated. But it was good to see Patrick Maroon. It was
I
good
agree.
that he got it. That he got to at least hoist it again. Obviously, he was obviously without him we wouldn't have made where we did last year. So it was good to see at least one of the boys hoist the trophy. I honestly I was definitely rooting against Dallas. There's always been a special hatred for Dallas. It's nothing that Dallas has ever done to us. It's just as a fan, it's just one of those teams where I just never really been a fan.
That's fair. And fun fact though, did you know that out of the last four teams in the Stanley Cup playoffs, all four of them had a St. Louis born player?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy to think. Like,
You had Paul Stastny from Vegas.
yeah.
You had Paul Pat Maroon from the Lightning, Ben Bishop for the Stars,
Mm-hmm.
and oh, why can't I think of his name? Uh-oh, I probably should have had that pulled up. But anyway, that was the stat. It was insane to me to think how far St. Louis has come as a city for sports.
Oh, I agree. And like with the emergence of the short-lived resurgence of football in St. Louis, and as well as the MLS, I mean,
That's
I'm definitely going to be looking forward to making some trips home, hopefully catching some games. Obviously, not the biggest fan of soccer, but shout out to Kyle. He kind of got me into soccer. So it's growing on me a little bit. I know there's gonna be a lot of people in the comments when they see this video. They're gonna be like, they're gonna,
they're gonna call you.
quote. They're gonna
They're gonna
quote
call
me.
you out. Yeah,
They're gonna quote me for saying this the rest of my life. I can tolerate soccer, okay, and it's one of those things. It's gonna take some getting used to. My hatred for soccer stems from and from a small town. Having soccer and football as your two spring sports, or as your two fall sports, excuse me. Some of the most talented players that I played with from like sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, they didn't even touch the football field in high school because they were, on the soccer field. Um,
right.
Arguably the greatest running back I've ever seen in my entire life. You know, even like playing in high school, like he played soccer for 4 years, never touched a football field in high school. Probably, I mean, he didn't play for. He went to the public school, not where I went, but I mean, arguably one of the best. That's just where that's why I don't like soccer, and that's like it also stems from genetics. My dad hates soccer, so I kind of just by
I
association hated soccer.
I get that, and I dabbled in soccer. Growing up playing. I played a little bit of CYC soccer, and I never did play high school soccer, which
Hmm.
I was more focused on basketball and baseball.
Well, yeah, of course,
And I took both of those relatively far. Baseball more than basketball, but soccer to me is one of those sports that it is so much better when you're there. And I'm gonna make this uh, comparison to golf.
Mm-hmm.
I went going to Bellerive when the 2018 PGA Championship was in St. Louis. It is so much more electric and crazy being there than it is sitting on your couch watching Tiger putt on the 18th hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And soccer's the same. Soccer to me is the same way. You get there, you see the riots. I mean, let's just be honest. There's lots of riots when it comes to soccer, um, and there's just the fans get so into it. It's so great to see. And I think it's more. And I'm kind of glad that MLS did not come this season to St. Louis due to everything going on. We have a year to figure it out before it could hurt. St. Louis as a market.
Oh, and yeah, I completely agree. I think it was best. Honestly, it worked out in the favor with the whole, you know, I mean
Situation.
the whole situation. Yeah. Um, but I agree. I think St. Louis is definitely, especially with the showing that we had with the short-lived Battlehawks. Everybody on the word on the street is that they're coming back. So I hope to see that they come back because I'd like to catch a game. So I mean, The Rock says it's coming back. So I mean, I don't argue with The Rock.
A call for those.
Caca is forever law. So,
Oh,
with that being said, we're gonna roll into our final segment. My personal favorite is our viewer question of the day, and today's question comes to you from Amy Justice in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and
repping
she
SEMO.
she she asked if we could give a little bit of coverage to the professional mini golf. And I have it.
Oh,
I have the stats pulled up here. So this is for you, Amy. So this past weekend, the World Mini Golf Federation held the second round of their Media Cup, which for those of you who don't know, they bring in 70 media analysts from around the world, and they compete and in a knockout style competition. And usually it is 100 people, but this year they could only bring in the top 70. Um, so the winners of this competition, in first place from the Tasnim News Agency, and I'm gonna probably mispronounce this last name, is Maya Savari, excuse me. Sorry, my apologies. In second place in the women's division, Bahari Mohammadi from Fars News Agency. And in third place, Hajar Alizadi from Filmazan e Javan Institute. And for the men's side of things, we have Akbar Dadashzadeh from the Iran newspaper. We have Siamak Kaji from Farhektagan newspaper. And in third place for the men's division, we have Jafar Jetty from the Tasnim News Agency. And that is for the Mini Golf Media Cup. That was held in Tehran this past weekend.
and just to put this into account, they practice. I was looking up some stuff last night when we went over what we were going to talk about, and I kind of took this as something I didn't expect. But some of these people are crazy. Like they practice 10 hours a day. There are over 40,000 pro miniature golfers that play over 3 different continents. And Mr. Carlson, who is was a professional mini golfer for about 8 9 years, has made over $250,000 from professional mini golf. Like that is a lot that I didn't expect to learn last night.
It is kind of crazy how big the sport is, that you'd go there on the weekends and just mess around with like your little brother or your siblings or whatever. But in regards to, obviously that was kind of on the world stage, but in regards to the United stage, I mean, I don't think it gets bigger than next week. The U.S. Mini Golf Masters is happening October 6th through the 10th. That's pretty exciting. You excited about that? I think they're
I'm in
hosting it in Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach is considered the mini golf capital of the world. Fun fact. Trivia question. Um, but yes, I'm actually intrigued, and I will be honest. I am probably gonna try to watch a little bit of this to just see how crazy this gets. Because, like I said, when Amy asked the question yesterday, I kind of just, shrugged it off. We were gonna talk about the the show on Hulu currently, Holy Moly, or on TV as well. But
Exactly.
then I did some research, and this is as real of a sport as it gets.
I mean, if you're looking at this, like I'm looking at the itinerary for the Masters, and you play 6 rounds on Thursday, 6 rounds of golf, which is crazy. And just to
And
enter the tournament, it's $180 but you have to be an active member of the U.S. Pro Mini Golf Federation, and it's saying here that the cash payout for the winner is $20,000 for the Masters.
yeah,
twenty
and
thousand
that's
dollars for being able to putt, which I mean is
which I
something
can't
as
do.
a golfer I can't do.
I
Exactly.
can't do. My short game's good, but my putting is atrocious.
Exactly. I like to drive it. I like to drive the ball and drink beer while I'm on the golf course. I can't putt.
Right, that's the best
But
part.
no,
Is just driving around the
exactly,
golf cart, unless you
exactly,
crash your golf cart repeatedly.
exactly.
Um,
And no, but from what I see is you play on 3 different courses. You play 12 rounds of golf. So you play 6 rounds, 4 rounds, 2 rounds.
now are they running 9 holes or 18? Because I couldn't find a straight answer.
From what I understand, I do believe that I do believe they play 18. I haven't found the exact thing, but I also think it depends on where they are playing at. And my guess would be is that they play 18, but I'd have to research a little bit more. But from what I see is like you said, it looks like it's as real as it can get. I mean, it really is. And from what it looks like it is 18 holes because looks like the average score is like 35 a round. So that would
Okay,
be
so that would
roughly 18 holes.
that yeah.
With two shots a hole. Um,
Um, but
yes.
another interesting fact I learned: the first mini golf tournament was 1930, and it was called the National Tom Thumb Open, and the cash purse was $10,000, and first place got $2,000. So it has come a long way financially as well. And I'm assuming that has to do with sponsorships and stuff like that,
Oh,
which
I agree. I mean, I haven't necessarily dabbled into the sponsorships and where how to get involved with it, but I'm sure that like golf courses all around the world are trying to get their name out there. Obviously it's kind of one of those things where it's kind of hard to spread the word unless you just you know get your if you get the actual public to watch it. And I know that me and you, if we wouldn't have looked up all this stuff, I mean, I would never have known that there was a world tour of mini golf.
mm,
Like, it's just something that
right.
you don't see. It's something you do on the weekend, like I said, with your siblings. You just go pay $10 and they'll play 18 holes.
And I mean, if you look at some of these courses, it's it's not like going down the road to Swing Around Fun Town or anything like that. These are extremely difficult courses.
Yeah, no, and I see that the Bluegrass Mini Golf Course is hosting the U.S. Open May 15th to the 16th, and it looks like Olivia Prokopova is the defending champion, and that she will be defending her title against Joey Graybell, who won last year's Masters Championship. So it looks like, I mean, this is the thing. This is a sport where it's not just men. It's not always men versus men. I mean, in this case, it's men versus women. I mean, you got both sides that coming in hot.
Right. And that's kind of something that to me is kind of cool that they do is it's not women men division, it's mixed. And so going back to the Masters because that is this weekend and we are going to touch up on this. So they're competing on 3 different courses,
Yes, yes.
which is kind of cool. And if you look, and I'm gonna name off these the golf courses because if you go look these courses up, you'll see what I'm talking about by the difficult level. Um, the first course is Aloha Mini Golf, which is an island course. Um, and it's crazy how
I
the
yeah,
stuff they have to get through.
I have a picture pulled up here. Yeah, it's definitely interesting to say the least. It's an interesting concept. Like I think a lot of people, at least me personally, the only time I really have any sort of interaction with mini golf is like we were talking about, like the show Holy Moly. Like I've watched a few episodes of that. Mainly watched it because I heard Steph Curry was on the show. And so that was
Oh
pretty interesting.
God,
I mean, he's the one who like I think directed it or
he
produced it.
produced it.
Produced it, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting show, but like some of those holes, like man, I tell you what, they're something to. It's not something to take lightly. Like it's something that you got to train for.
And you probably, and I'm curious. I want to find a video of how do people throw their putters after missing putts. This seems like it would be an interesting video now that I think about it.
It seems like it would be a rage-inducing sport for sure,
Oh,
for
it
sure.
definitely would be. We thought watching golfers break things was fun. Wait till we see mini golfers breaking things.
I agree. And just a little quick update on the games going on right now. Reds Braves are still scoreless at the top of the eighth. At 0-0. You have the Astros and Twins. Astros have a 1-0 lead in the bottom of the fourth. And you have the Marlins and Cubs who just got underway. It looks like they're in the second inning and it is 0-0. So I really do think it's going to be a good week of games.
It's a great day for baseball. I mean, it's beautiful. We got beautiful weather here. It's mid 60s at the moment. Sunny. You can't really tell. I mean, you can kind of tell behind me, but
There's kind of a little bit of light over here from the other side too.
yeah,
So
it's a beautiful day. You got day baseball. Why not go get a six pack of beer? Enjoy the day.
exactly, and yeah, no,
I do not endorse day drinking, but when it's possible, today would be a day to do it.
exactly, and I think that's the with the current situation that we're all in. I think some people who don't would normally be working, the old 9 to 5. If they don't have to work as long, they have the opportunity to do that, and
I mean, I'm currently unemployed due to what happened a couple months
exactly,
ago,
yeah,
and
exactly.
it's stressful. I put applications in every day of the week. It's
Hmm.
looking for a job is like a job. It takes every day, Monday through Friday at least, and it's unfortunate I haven't found something yet. But hey, I could
Exactly.
talk about sports. I could talk about sports during the day now, so I would not trade that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like my situation, just being in school, you know, being in my schoolhouse, it's just it is what it is, just taking it day by day. Well, I would want to touch on one more thing before we get out of here. I did this is something that caught my eye. I didn't read this until this morning actually, but the Braves added Pablo Sandoval to their
I did
playoff
see I
roster.
did see that when I looked at the lineup today. I
I,
was confused for a second.
I just saw this, but yeah, they released left-handed pitcher Tommy Malone, who posted a 14.9 ERA, which I can understand why he got dropped for that performance in 3 starts. So yeah, no, it looks like they added a little bit of experience. I mean, what was he? He was the MVP of 2012.
Yes, he was. Back when the Giants team were actually good. Oh,
Exactly, but
wait. That was when Giants went every other year for
yeah,
3 year two times. 2012, 2014, or was it 2010, 2012?
2012,
I
2014.
thought it was 2012, 2014.
Yep. But yeah, no, that's I just kind of want to touch on that before we get out of here. But I'm definitely looking forward to this week of games, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it in the next few days.
But I
Recapping
do want
the
I
days.
have one going back because I looking up some of the stats real quick for this game. And remember how we talked about how pitching had to be premier for this the Reds Braves series?
Yes, yeah, I know. Figured it was the pitching.
So Bauer is through 2 hits, 11 strikeouts. Max Fried went 7 flat, 6 hits, 5 strikeouts, no runs apiece. So that is what we expect out of Ford. That is what needs to happen in playoff pitching. Is stuff like that to not run your because in a 3-game series, your bullpen is going to be fried if they're consistently used.
Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. And that, like we touched on earlier, I just think in every series pitching matters, because if your pitcher goes 7-8 innings, you have that much of an advantage. I mean, you have every arm ready to go in the bullpen. So I think that it'll be an interesting day for baseball, and looking forward to the rest of this week. With the NBA finals and football, I think it's going to be a good week of sports. I mean, with nothing else really going on, I think it's going to be a great week to watch sports.
It's just nice to have sports back. And I mean, when hockey started, you had hockey every day, but it's nice to get back to our normal slight schedule. You know, you expect well, we expect the Red October in St. Louis every year, and we have it this year. So it's kind of like things are slightly getting back to normal with everything going on. So it's just not. That's all I can really say is it's just good to have sports back to playoffs. You know,
Exactly, and it's gonna be a fun ride that we're on here at the D&D shows. So I look forward to the next time that we get to chat. I'm sure I'll hit you up tomorrow or the next day, and we can
we'll
review
plan this out.
today's game. Yeah, exactly.
I was
And
gonna say
but I appreciate you all for, if you made it this far, for listening in. And if you have any anything that you want to chime in, please hit up the comments below. We
I was
would
gonna
always
say
appreciate it. And any questions that you want us to answer, if you want to be a chance to be the viewer question of the episode, please just comment below anything sports related. We'll hit on.
hit up the
But
comments. I'm gonna create a Twitter. Let's actually do this. If we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this for real. We'll put Twitter in the next bio as well, and
yeah,
we'll start
yep.
getting this thing rolled out.
Yeah, we heard it here first. But yes, no. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button while you're at it, and we'll catch you guys in the next time. Peace.
All right, peace.